I got started, funny story. My, I had gone through a divorce and I had two kids. I was in a custody battle for, and I had also wound up pregnant. So I was pretty much, left with not many options. And camming kind of saved my life. Like it really did. I was in a bad situation and I didn't have any way to make money, especially not with juggling like schedules of two kids. And then I was pregnant. My new boyfriend had left and moved to a whole different city. So it was just like me, myself, and I. And like it gave me a way to provide for my kids and also to gain confidence. I didn't like myself very much. I didn't really realize that I had a personality outside of being a mom, outside of being a daughter, outside being a wife, and so it really helped me gain my independence back.
Do you feel like it helped you like rediscover yourself?
Oh yeah, big time. And it definitely gave me see that I had not seen in a long time back. That's I think the first few months I was on Live Jasmine, I was pregnant and we were hiding it like with good angles and nobody noticed that I know of. But had I known then what I know now about people loving pregnant women, I would have done that differently.
Wow. So when you started, you had two young kids, you were pregnant, and so you kind of needed a job where you could be home.
I desperately needed a job and like it was so bad. I was actually the very first stream that we did, my manager and I like thank God for her. She was somebody who knew the industry and she's very professional. She knew what she was doing. Well, she's trying to teach somebody that had no clue and we did it out of the hotel room I lived in. She also was familiar enough with like the camming culture. I had never seen a cam show. I had no idea what it was. She kind of, walked me through what that was. And she explained like, this is a legit job. This is not something to be ashamed of. You get paid legit checks. You're not a hooker. Like nobody's touching you. This is all very much your own roles and it really opened my eyes. Today, I don't hide that I'm a cam model to my family, to my friends. I'm very open about it.
I think that's beautiful. How long have you been camming?
Well, my daughter turned a year old last month, so like almost 2 years.
Wow. So you joined and you haven't looked back.
No, I love it. I've heard like I started on Peaks Social. And then I think once I got approved for Live Jasmine, it took me months because you had to have like the right lighting and like it was very difficult. Like I always tell people, Live Jasmine is no joke. Like it's very easy to be on Chatterbait. It's very easy to be on other websites. But quite frankly, in Live Jasmine, you cannot be ugly on Live Jasmine. Like they do not accept anything that's not very professional, that's not classy. And so like it was very cool. It like right whenever I got accepted to Live Jasmine, I remember me and my major like, this is it. Like we got to a real company. Like we were just totally excited.
Oh, I love that. You mentioned how you were really fortunate that your really good friend just kind of knew about the industry
Right.
and kind of knew how to mentor you because a lot of models who are starting out, they sometimes will want to start out on their own as opposed to a studio. But it sounds like even in your experience, you're not with a studio, but you would say that it's important to have someone who has a background on the industry.
It is because people I feel like they target new models. I remember being very new and like as soon as they see that new tag, they're gonna try to, tell you what to do and what you should and shouldn't. All these men that like have never cam modeled a day in their life have the best advice, right? Like, well, if you're so good at it, you be a cam model. But there's also people who will try to scam you and or pressure you into doing things that you don't want to do, and you don't know that you have that independence to say like no, or like no, I don't do this. Yes, I do this. It's what you're comfortable with. And you don't have to tell everybody yes. And you also don't have to be completely naked. Like, you don't have to do the extreme stuff if you're not comfortable with it. People, not everybody likes the extreme.
You just mentioned like you don't even have to be fully nude.
No. In fact, on Live Jasmine, the one thing that Live Jasmine taught me is like you are not allowed to be nude on Live Jasmine, right? In free chat. And it really showed me like, hey, like it's not about just taking off your clothes. People want to really interact with you. And it's if you can be the prettiest girl in the world, but do you have the personality? Because that's I think what keeps them coming back a lot. They can easily Google somebody on Pornhub doing the same thing naked, but they come here for a reason.
I think that's the key, right? Like, why are they paying? It's because it's for the connection.
They want the connection. It's not that they're weird all the time. I've met some very like like very attractive males. It's very awkward at first whenever it's cam to cam and you're like, well, wow, you're very attractive. It's not creepy people. It's just sometimes they want an escape from their reality.
Yeah, and you kind of get to provide them with that.
It's also an escape from my reality, right? Like so it's a good time for both parties.
What are some of your favorite aspects of this career?
The schedule. Making my own schedule is basically what drew me to it. And then also the ability to be myself, the ability to, there's no like at certain jobs you get paid $20 an hour, let's say. I could make $100 an hour, I could make $10 an hour, but I have learned like you make exactly amount what you put into it. If the more you stream, the more you make. And that's just how it is. But I like that I have the flexibility and the ability to be there for like all of my kids' schedules and to be able to do everything that I want to do, pay my own bills. It's good for me.
Especially, your situation where you had young children,
Hmm.
you were going through separation.
I mean, I have been married for 10 years. I had no idea what it was like to be on my own. I was married to somebody pretty wealthy. I had no idea what it was like to do anything besides like have a maid every day and be a mom on a golf course. I had no idea. And I went from that to living in a hotel room in order to fight for custody of my children. And in order to get them Mecca, I had to provide stable income and survive.
Wow. So this platform has given you, and this industry, this career has given you, I don't want to say an out, but it like gave
Yeah.
you what you needed.
Well, it was really at the time, you're not faced with many options. Like there's not many places that want to hire somebody pregnant. There's not many places that will let you be flexible with your children and your divorce case and your court case and this and that. And it was just like, well, thank God she knew about that. I had no idea what camming was. And my idea of camming was not what really happens. Like what goes on in people's head is completely different, I think, than if they watch a normal cam show.
What do you think is the difference between what goes on in people's heads and the actual truth of it?
And I think that they picture it to be kind of dirty or abusive in a way, and it's not.
And like you said, it's so much more than that. It's
Hmm.
also about that connection aspect, the relationship aspect, because these members could easily go and find something for free online.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They could go to Tinder. They could. It's not that they want to hook up with you. It's not. Um, some people, I guess, try to have a relationship with you, but not a realistic one. They call that girlfriend experience. Whatever they need to believe, they need it to make their fantasy happen, right? Um, whether that's reality or not for the cam model is a whole different story. But like, yes, I think that they want to be entertained. They want to joke with you. They want to somebody to talk to. They want just to get out of their own head. from living in a $350 a week hotel where I lived, we filmed, and we did everything. And it was hell. To where I am now it's like it's day and night. Like, and we even my manager and I were like, well, let's get some pictures together to show like the before and like how real the struggle was. And I just thought to myself, like, oh my God, I can't believe like that was, in a million years, I never thought I would be in that situation. And then once I was in the situation, I didn't know if I would ever get out. I kind of had to fake it till we made it. In the beginning, I used to we couldn't afford like new backdrops and stuff. So we would get like fabric from Hobby Lobby, which is cheap, like $1. And like we kept on just taping it to the wall and making people think of the illusion that we're somewhere else or somewhere fancier. That is very much just fabric.
If you think about it, it's kind of a fast turnaround because you said it's been what, 2 years?
Almost, yeah. I would say I had a turnaround, let's say like 6. Well, I started seeing money about 3 months in. 3 to 4 months in. And then like I was completely out of my situation within 6 months.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was crazy.
So obviously, working in this industry and being on a platform like Jasmine does come with the benefit of financial reward and money. But I want to ask you about some of the other benefits that have come to your life as a result, aside from the money.
Aside from the money, my confidence. Also, a benefit to it was being able to be my own boss and to do things on my terms, which normal jobs don't give you. You very much have to answer to somebody, and it's their way or the highway. And this kind of allowed me to make my own lane. It's really a nice feeling to be your own boss, very much independent, and do things on your own terms.
The confidence that you mentioned is something that it seems to be a theme that girls will come into the industry and they get a huge confidence boost.
I mean, look, like I had came from an abusive marriage, and then my next boyfriend left me pregnant. And he actually caught me webcamming because a friend of his happened to be a fan of mine on my Jasmine, and that was the best revenge ever. But like men will shower you with attention, and a lot of us girls, we've been in by relationships or just I think women always have a little bit of like self-esteem issues, and it definitely helps. It definitely does. A lot of people see like what we do as like, oh, well, they must have low self-esteem. They must be forced into it, or like, they have like a negative connotation with it, which is actually the opposite.
Yeah, it's like, no, actually.
Like, actually, I'm very proud of what I do.
Yeah.
I got recognized at Whataburger once, and he was like, "Are you Kina?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think I was more excited than they were, but like it's very fun. And it's also nice it's not so serious. Like the job is not, you don't have like the world's gonna end if you don't stream at 4 p.m. It's other jobs I think can be very serious. Like if I was a brain surgeon, that would be serious. And that's a lot of stress.
You said a keyword, which is that it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have fun with your job?
Oh, I have a blast. I mean, like, I think it's part of it. Like, they want somebody that's not so serious, that can joke with them and laugh with them. And we dance, I dance and like, I have fun, and it is a good time. I think that also your mindset has to be like, if you're not in the right space mentally, just don't get online that day. Because you don't want to be rude to the people viewing, and they're used to like a, fun version of you, a happy version of you. And so if that's not you that day, don't get on. It might be bad for you.
You see your job as being able to bring joy, it sounds like.
Right. I'm trying to provide for them exactly what I'm providing for me, which is just a break. It's like just a 10 second time out from real life, and that's it.
Yeah, don't we need it?
Right, right.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned in the industry so far?
It's okay to say no. I had no boundaries for myself or others until I started camming, and it taught me how to say no and not feel bad about it. And it also taught me that people will not react badly if you say no. They will be okay with it. Like they will not just shun you. It taught me boundaries for sure.
Isn't that like, I feel like that's one of the biggest lessons we as
Yes.
women
I
have
mean,
to
it's
struggle
something I
with.
desperately needed to learn. It was a real struggle for me. I was very much a people pleaser. I didn't really know that I had the right to say no. I was fearful of the consequences if I said no. And now I don't have that, and I know how to say it respectfully, and I know also how to respect other people's boundaries.
Oh my goodness, that's so important is being able to verbalize and assert your own boundaries and then also giving other people that same courtesy.
Right. And it's a deal. It's a new way of dealing with people, and it's been better for me. In all my relationships.
I love that. That this the one of the biggest lessons you've learned is how to say no and how to honor yourself with your boundaries.
Right.
I want to know anything that you've been able to provide for yourself on your own that you're really proud of.
I have a car in my name for the first time in my life. I have a job where I can go to all of my kids' events, soccer, whatever I want to do. I can go on family vacation. All I need to do is bring my phone or my laptop if I do have to work. And then also, I have the freedom to not need anybody besides myself and be really self-reliant, which was something I'd always craved.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I do want to talk about your connection with the members.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me about that? Do you have any members that really stick out to you in your mind?
Yes.
Yes, talk to me.
Yes. There are a few screen names. Like you recognize them because you're on a lot, and like you just see that certain regulars will come to your room. I've met some very interesting people, like just people that I would not have had the chance to meet otherwise. It opens my eyes to different ways of living or different lifestyles.
Doesn't it kind of serve as like an education that you might get
Yeah.
if you were traveling or something? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Because these people, they live all over the country, all over the world. I had no idea about a lot of fetishes, and I now understand it differently. I don't think it's some perversion. I think that there's definitely some psychology behind it, and I can see why they have that fetish, like what drives them to have it. I can very quickly sense like where they're going with questions, or if it's a good way or a bad way or whatever. And it works this time for a positive reason. It is important to understand and respect that some people crave things that may not work at the relationship at home. Like they crave like power. And that might be from their own situation where they feel belittled.
Do you have a memory with one of the members or just on the site, the platform in general that really stands out to you?
The first person that I did a cam to cam with, it made everything change for me because I was no longer scared. And they were very, very respectful, very nice. And so that really made me feel comfortable with doing cam to cam.
I love that. There are a lot of misconceptions about the industry and
Mhm.
about what it actually is and what's going on. Do you have a message or do you have thoughts to people who may have a negative judgment about the industry?
I would ask that they keep an open mind and just have tolerance, even if they don't approve of it. Just understand that other people, it works for others. It may not work for you, but it does work for other people. And just be tolerant and respectful, just how they would want us to treat them.
Right. If only the whole world could take that advice.
Right. I mean, if it's just, love and tolerance, that's all we're trying. I respect everybody's religion. I respect everybody's sexuality. I respect everything like that. I cannot say I know better. I'm just not one to judge. Every time that I've judged somebody, I've learned my lesson by the hard way. Like I'll become them, or like something in my personal life will happen to where I'm like, well, now I understand. And I feel bad. So I just tried to be very open-minded and just know that it's not prostitution. It's not girls being forced, and that it's not some crazy, circus that you think it is.
Yeah. It's literally virtual connection, really.
Right. It's a lot like AOL chat room.
Right?
It's a lot like AOL chat rooms back in the day. That's how it is for me. That's the only thing it reminds me of.
Yeah, I love that. I love those chat rooms.
Everybody was in those chat rooms. Nobody knew anybody.
And we were all saying all kinds of stuff,
Right. And so it's a lot more innocent than people, I think, assume.
What advice would you give a girl who's just starting out in the industry?
Make sure that like you're comfortable in your own skin before you go on camera, and that will help a million times.
That's
If
great.
you're comfortable with your own self, it's way easier to be vulnerable online.
Yes. And why do you think the vulnerability is so important?
I think people want a genuine connection with you. I'm really glad that you're doing this. I think people are very much interested in like the cam world.
Yeah, exactly. And who better to give it a voice than the people who are actually in it, right?
Yes. I think more people cam than the world realizes.
I mean, absolutely. Instagram is a cam site, in my opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yes.
and now that the subscription content is on the rise, it's really becoming a huge way of life in this
It
digital
is.
age.
And it's very safe for women, which is something that I value about it. It's very safe for women. And like strip clubs are not always safe. And there's actual physical touch that can happen. And it's nice to have that safety.
Safety, and also, like that convenience you mentioned of
Yeah.
you're a mom and you have kids at home, you don't have to leave your home.
Right. It's very nice.
It's perfect for women, especially. It really
Yes.
is.
This is an industry where women can really call the shots. And so it makes a big difference.
I love that. I love that line. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.